Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy, your not so retired friend in genealogy. This is Mondays with Myrt. We meet bi-weekly, every other week, and we talk about anything and everything that has come across our Genia desk since last we met. So if Frank would bring the panelists up, our special guest is still waiting in her dressing room. And let's see what's happening out there as well with the community members. So Frank is our guy in Germany. Randy's our guy in the great state of California. Ellen's up there holding down the Canadian contingent of the panelists. By the way, Dan is away today. Jill's returned from her whirlwind tour of the world, actually. Good to have you back, Jill.
Thanks.
And Hillary's going to talk to us, as usual, about Wikitree and some of the results that happened during their Connect-a-thon. Let's see who's out there today. Hi, Yvette. Another San Diegoan. Is that how you say that? I hope so. Barbara's here from Project Kin, also California. Well, we've got a lot of Californians. Maybe it's because it's our comfortable time zone. It's 9:04 in the Pacific. I don't know. There's Yvette. Yeah, a little bit different. And yep, let's see. I'm just going to go through. Yeah, Hillary's our gal in Wales, but her research is principally UK. Should we say it that way? Yeah. All right. Melinda and also Sherry are over on the YouTube side, keeping you rabble rousers in control. I know how crazy you can get sometimes. Betty Lou's here, and here's our Sherry. You will notice that both Sherry and Melinda have, whenever they post, have that little crescent wrench, which means they're a moderator over there on that side. It's all good. Jayhawk, welcome from Oklahoma. I'm looking for a friend. Oh, yes, here's a friend, Valerie. Well, these are all our friends. Here's a sneak peek who's going to be here shortly. There's Tony, our guy in Ireland. Yeah, all right. Rain over there. Kathleen is here. I hope that my new friend that I just met during this week with Mr. Myrt at his War Game Developers Conference will be joining us. Her name's Tammy. Easy to remember. It's my eldest daughter's name as well. Hi, Marcia. Gosh, there's a whole discussion. Hi, Robin. And I got to spend time with Lori when I was in Tempe at 117 degrees, and we had a great visit. But we forgot to take a selfie. That's how it goes. There's Robin. Welcome. Monta, good to see you. And Flo from Oregon. There's my friend John from Ohio. Gosh, I just about got everybody in here. There's my new friend. Tammy is in the building. We have to be nice because she's never come to Mondays with Myrt before. Does that mean I have to be on my best behavior too? I think so. All right. So let me introduce our guest today. There's a few people who are still posting. Good to see you, Bobby. So our guest, and let me pull her up, is Amy Johnson-Crow. Amy, welcome to Mondays with Myrt.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, we've got, Frank, if you'd move everybody else to the wings, we're going to talk with Amy for a little bit. Now, Amy's one of the, I don't want to say old girls network or oldie but goodie, but you know what's happening in the world of genealogy. You are the originator of the 52 ancestors, and you have been such a moving force in helping people share their family history, discover their family history. But something happened at Ancestry, and we want to talk with you about that. So let me pull up your screen. And yeah, I have to remove other media. I can always do this correctly. So, talk to me about this Club 1890. I saw your video and I thought that your reaction to it was pretty darn good. Take it away, Amy.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, Ancestry they've been teasing this out for a while now. In fact, I think that they even mentioned it from the stage at Roots Tech, this Club 1890. And it's been teased out that it was going to be a club or a membership, really, I should say, because it is a membership that was going to be based around additional genealogy education. And you had to get on a wait list to be notified about it. But even then, now they're saying that it's by invitation only. I thought, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to preface this by saying that anything that I say related to Club 1890, I'm not trying to bash Ancestry.
No, we never bash any website because they're all trying their best and they need to make money.
Yeah. But this particular offer to me raises a lot of concerns. One, it is by invitation only. And to me, that kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way because I think that genealogy should be as inclusive as possible. But that's totally up to them. Also, not only is it by invitation only, you also have to apply to it, which I had actually missed that detail when I made my video. That first you have to be invited and then you have to apply. And there's really no guidance as to what they're looking for in their applications. I did go to the information session that they had last Thursday, and they said, well, we want to make sure that we have the right experts in line to help members.
Well,
okay, maybe.
Does that mean if a whole bunch of us with Polish research join the concierge service, then they want to have Polish experts on hand to guide us?
I guess. Yeah. So it's invitation only by application. And when you go through the website as it is, and they have a frequently asked questions section at the bottom, the price was surprising to a lot of people, myself included. The annual membership fee for Club 1890 is $5,000.
That's the part that hit me hard.
Yeah. That was quite the I don't want to say shock, but yeah, shock that was what the price for this membership was. They also mentioned in the information session that was the founding member price.
Okay.
Which tells me that the price is actually expected to go up on this.
You're getting some interesting feedback because other people have followed. I agree with Betty Lou. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking they're going to help us find lost records or something, or they have some new information. And yeah.
It was, somebody did ask about where the name came from in that information session last week. Mm-hmm. And Krista Cowan said that she named it. I actually wrote down what she said because it struck me, because I know a lot of people, myself included, had been wondering about that. And she said that she named it that as a tongue-in-cheek nod to the 1890 census, but was supposed to make us feel that sense of, oh, I found something that wasn't supposed to exist.
Okay, moving along.
Yeah, moving along. I will say I don't have a problem with any company having a high ticket offer. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's their business. It is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And if they see a market for a high ticket offer, why not? Okay. What I'm worried about this being a concern to me in the bigger scope of things is how I see this fitting in with a pattern of what Ancestry has been doing with their offerings lately. And that is breaking things out piecemeal by piecemeal and trying to extract every single penny that they can from their customer base. Again, they are a business. They do need to make money. I get that. I own my own business. I need to make money. My concern is, especially when you take it into context of Ancestry being owned by private equity. And private equity in the United States has a very strong track record of coming in, buying a company, changing its offerings, squeezing out every single penny that they possibly can from that company, saddling the company with millions, if not billions of dollars in debt. And then after they've extracted all the money that they can, the company goes bankrupt.
I know.
We have seen this time and time again, most recently with Joanne.
I was just thinking of that, being the quilter that I am.
Yep.
Now, somebody made the point I could hire a bunch of professional genealogists for that price. Now, the 1890, I call it a concierge service, could be used, does offer some one-on-one time and stuff. Talk about that.
Yeah. So one of the benefits in Club 1890 is a monthly 30-minute one-on-one consultation with a professional genealogist. 30 minutes a month. That's something that Ancestry Pro Genealogist already offers. They charge $149 for 30 minutes. I'm actually getting ready to relaunch my one-on-one consultations. It's not going to be $149 for 30 minutes. I will just throw that out there.
Okay.
But there are a lot of professionals who will do a consultation, not for the professional to do the research, but that consultation of, hey, here's my problem. Where should I look next? And then working together to make a good evaluation, doing a good research plan, things like that.
So, Amy, if, I'm pretty organized. Well, don't look at my laundry. I just got back from a trip.
Yeah, laundry doesn't count.
Okay, but I'm pretty organized, but it would be very hard for me to organize what I did in the last month of research based on your advice and articulate that to you in half of that 15 minutes, for instance, so that you would know where I am in my research.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So there's the 30 minutes that you get every month. There's also weekly group coaching, but there was no indication in that information session or on the website as to how that is structured. They were talking about it being live, but do you get access to the replay if you can't make it? Do you submit your questions ahead of time? That's what people in my membership do. We have twice a month, I guess you would call it group coaching. I call it a Q&A session, but they send in their questions ahead of time. And, I have an opportunity then to really
prepare.
Yeah. So that we can really hit the ground running at that during our time together. So there is that. One thing that I'm really perplexed by is they keep talking about these deep dives into specific topics, but there was no indication as to how those topics would be chosen, how frequently members would get access to these additional learnings or deep dives, as they were calling them. There was a lot of very nebulous, non-specific answers. And I don't know. It's like I said, the more that I heard about that during that information session, the less, I hate to say, the less impressed I was by the offer.
Yeah, that's so you went to an insider's meeting to get the scoop on this, that because you're a prolific blogger and they recognize you as an influencer.
Well, no, to be clear, everybody who was sent an invitation about Club 1890, they could also sign up for this information session.
Where you'd
They
get
had,
more about what are you
yeah,
possibly going to buy.
yeah.
Yeah, but okay. This keeps coming up, something along this line, and let me know if you can hear that air, the compressor, because our painters are here. Thank heavens, because it's going to drive me nuts. But they're doing the exterior this week. Yeah, I just I just used my calculator and came up with $149 times 12 meetings. That's 1,788 American dollars.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying things like, why don't we just hire a professional genealogist to spend 10 hours or 12 hours on our specific research challenge? Sherry was invited as an attendee, and um, she also agrees that there were a lot of things to be determined.
Yeah. I will say that I do get the concept of, if this is, because they're talking about this being a cohort, that it's not going to be open all the time, that they're just going to have certain periods of time where people can join this, making it more of a cohort or a class. So
Hmm.
I can kind of see where the first cohort would be, okay, this worked and this didn't work, and then we will tweak it later. But there was so much that they don't even know when they're going to be starting this. They had
Okay.
no start date for this.
Can you answer this question for Mirandy, please?
Yearly. It's
It's a year.
5,000 a year.
Okay. Now, they did tell us during the initial information about this that then they can have the DNA tools, they can have newspapers.com, they have the World Deluxe Edition of Ancestry, so it
Right.
isn't just Canadian records. I do think it's peculiar that they picked the 1890, which is very US centric,
Mm-hmm.
when what we're talking about is a global offering. Okay, they're right outside my window. Can you hear that now?
Yeah, I can hear that now.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to be quiet. Yeah, that's the all access.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say that they do include the all access family membership, the Pro Tools, and 4 DNA kits. So there is that bundled in with it. Even with those, I could not get it to come to $5,000 a year. And they were saying on the website that, oh, you're paying 5,000, it's actually worth 10,000. I couldn't get it to come even close to 10,000. You're muted.
Believe me, you were
Yeah.
glad I was muted. Yeah. They're getting there though.
Yeah.
We have a big house. Let's go to the other side, guys. Apparently they didn't get the message. All right. So Valerie, who also does professional genealogy research, says she's going to have to up her professional fee to cover it. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Anything else you want to talk to us about this? I mean, I want. Randy has already shared the link to your YouTube video about this, which is what prompted me to immediately write to you and say, please, could you come talk to us? Not knowing that you would be going to this meeting on Thursday.
Yeah. I think the thing that I would encourage people to do, and it's something that I have encouraged people to do for years, and that is, don't have your only tree be your tree on Ancestry. Because what happens if worst case scenario, what happens if private equity decides, we have wrung everything that we can out of Ancestry, and now we're going to sell it off piecemeal? What happens if Ancestry decides to change the way it does memberships and they start putting more records behind a paywall? Not just, oh, you have a US membership, therefore you can't see Canadian records, you can't see, English records or German records or whatever. But what happens if Ancestry decides, no, we're going to put these US records behind an additional paywall? What happens if you just get tired of paying for Ancestry? So I encourage everyone, and like I said, I've encouraged people to do this literally from day one, is have your tree also someplace else. My personal opinion, if you're going to be serious about your genealogy, invest in some good genealogy software, whether that's Roots Magic, whether it's Legacy, whether it's
Family Tree Maker,
Family Tree Maker, Heredis, any of those. There's a lot of wonderful options out there. But take that genealogy software and have that be your main tree. Because then, especially if you're using either Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker, you can take your tree that you've built on Ancestry and you can actually import all of the images that you've attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you're not having to try to go, back and forth and try to get all of these images. I think everybody should do that. And I think that this, I don't want to say trend, but it kind of is, this trend that we're seeing with Ancestry of everything being added behind Pro Tools, things being added. Let's have this high ticket offer. Let's split all these different things out. I don't think that we should sleep on what is happening here. And I think that if we're serious about our genealogy, which I'm going to presume that everybody watching this is, otherwise why would you be watching this? To just make that investment into some genealogy software, have your tree someplace else besides Ancestry.
Well, I don't know about you, but folks out there, I want to hear what genealogy software you're using. Amy mentioned Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic because they sync or tree share directly. Mm-hmm. They work differently, but they work with the Ancestry member tree. The reason you want to have that, your own best version of your genealogy on your computer, is that Ancestry isn't the only game in town. If you have British Research, you're going to be using Find My Past, and you cannot, by mistake, put that over on your Ancestry member tree because your terms of service say that you can't use that publicly. You can use it privately for your own use. We're seeing a lot of Family Tree Makers, Legacy Family Tree, Roots Magic. Frank is back to Roots Magic, still using Reunion Deneen on the Mac. And those of you that don't have those two programs that Amy mentioned for us, will have to do the manual syncing and getting the data not only from Ancestry to that ancestor profile in your Reunion software on your computer. It's the same thing. If you have Scandinavian ancestry and you use Archive Digital, yes, you need to have your own best thinking on your computer. Yeah, and it's also possible to have more than one tree on both Ancestry. And the advantage too of having it once on your computer is when some new wonderful website comes along, you can now have a file from your computer to share with that website if it has a family tree capability. Very interesting. Amy, I really appreciate your being here today. I encourage you all to watch Amy's video. Randy, can you share that link again in the chat on the YouTube side? I really appreciate that. Thank you for having a calm approach. Someone mentioned you're being a little more, I don't know, you're doing the Henry Kissinger part of being very diplomatic as you put this here. Now, for the young ones, they don't know who the heck Henry Kissinger, the part he played in history.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's an interesting time in genealogy. We'll just put it that way.
It is, and that's one of the reasons why I like having this discussion every other week, is something new happens and we're all trying to figure out how does that new option work, etc. This one, I'm probably going to have to give a pass. I would rather spend that $5,000 with progenealogists at Ancestry, where I knew that I had very specific to me research being done for me. But I like doing my own. Yeah, thank you, Randy. There's the link, everybody. Go watch that video. You're a lady and a scholar. I was going to say gentlewoman and a scholar.
A gentlewoman and a scholar.
I love it. All right, now I know your schedule's busy. I appreciate your saying yep, because as soon as you got the message, you said, sure, Myrt. Thank you so much. You've honored us by being here. You're welcome to stay if you wish, but I'm going to move you to the wings. Okay. And thanks very much. Good segment.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Okay, so what I'd like to do now, we're going to talk about societies in just a minute, but I want to ask the members of the panel, as well as those of you on the YouTube side. My friend Tammy has research. She's got Hot Wyatt coming down from the colonial time period, and she's got her research this close to connecting to Hot Wyatt. Now, that's a very well-known name, but I'd like you to please put a suggestion up in the chat, and we're going to pull all the panelists up. It's been a while since my friend Tammy did research. She's done good research, including being in dusty old courthouses. But, panelists, what do you think she needs to know? I don't know how long it's been since she's done research, but let's say a lot's happened maybe in the last 2 to 5 years. Where can we go to find information on Virginia research if we haven't been doing it and we need a quick study to get up to speed? Let me know. All right, let's turn on your mics, guys. Jump in here.
Well, the first place would be Family Search. If you are not sure where to go, go to their wiki.
Okay, let me change your mic because you're coming through really softly. So your suggestion is Family Search. So I'm going to pull that up, and I'll share my screen for brand recognition. And which are we thinking, the wiki at Family Search? Well, that's one very important area. Okay.
I would suggest Family Search, full text search.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Whoops.
All right, we have a totally new something or other in their sign-on process. What the heck is going on? All right, just give me a second, guys. Talk about the full text search, and I'll bring that up in just a minute, okay?
Sure. So if she's done some research before, something that would be helpful is knowing what decades where the gap is, because the
early 1800s. She's up to about
1800 to 1850 gap, right? So the full text search is an experimental group, an experimental option at Family Search. It allows for certain documents, not all documents, but certain documents to be looked at on every word in every document. So as a consequence, I would look not only for names, but I'd also look for place names. For example, if she knows and has a deed that puts them on Potter's Creek where the deed is on Potter's Creek, then she might want to do a search in full text search for Potter's Creek. And not just the name of Harry Smith or whatever the guy's name is. To gather information about the fan club that lives or has deeds around on Potter's Creek, so she can start looking at that. The construct of deeds is often the helpful part of this era of research. There's also research that just has to be done in place. She has to go to the place to do the work, because not everything is online, as we know. So between full text search, rooting out some things for her, and then also going to the place, whether it be the and that would include a broad look at places, not only the specific locality, and their historical societies and their public libraries and their genealogical societies, but also looking a little broader at the state of those same organizations at the state level. I would just recommend that, and if you're in Iowa, for heaven's sakes, they split their archives between Iowa City and Des Moines. So, I mean, you just never know what's going to be where. So some of that is just feet on the ground.
I totally get it. So thank you, Randy, for sharing that one link. Could you bring it up again for me in the private chat with just the link itself? Because I cannot click or copy from the comments area. All right, let me get, am I sharing my screen? Yes, I will. So here we are, family search. And normally we go to search records. Family search has changed a lot, as has been mentioned. So you can search records or images. What's the difference? Images are those that have not yet been indexed. So you might find something for Virginia, Tammy, that would have that would be relevant to Virginia. You do not have to search by name. You can search by collection. You can click on this and go to Virginia, go to US, pick Virginia. And this is just part of what's available. And that's why it's important that you heard the word experimental, because the full text search is something completely different from this. These are the indexed records that I found under search records. And not very much is indexed. I mean, look at all this Virginia stuff right now. Of course, it's a little late. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Randy, for giving me this. So I'm going to pull this one up. Coming in. Full text search means it looks at every word, as Jill told us. And even though it's experimental, Randy, talk to me a little bit about the using the full text search. You were the first one of my panelists to use it. What's your take on it, Randy?
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're talking about full text search, and you were the first one to use it. Tell us what happened that very first time. You got a lot of hits, didn't you?
The very first time I used it, I found a line that I was stymied on. I didn't know the parents of Sarah Feather. And so I searched for her husband's name. This was the first day I tried it. The very first search I did, Cornelius Feather, because that's a unique name. There wouldn't be many responses.
Mm-hmm.
And he is mentioned as the husband of Mary Feather in the quitclaim deed of Thomas Partridge. And so, along with all the other Partridge kids. And so that led me to the Partridges, and therefore it's about 1830 for the deed. That led me to the Partridge family, which leads me to the Wakeman family, etc. back into time, back into New England, and eventually England. So just tremendous. And the best bits of full text search are the probate records, the deed records, and now they're getting court records. Okay, criminal court, civil court, family court. It's hit and miss still, but there's just a lot there. There's over 3,900 collections now, and as Jill said, they're all every name indexed, and so you get all the spelling errors, but the search is pretty good. You need to filter the search by location and year range and things like that.
So I cannot stress that there are these two major ways to access the documents, the records at Family Search. The ones that go through the Family Search indexing process, it takes a long time for them to get through that process. Full text search is the use of artificial intelligence, AI, to scan old documents, including understanding old handwriting. And it's like Randy says, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. All right. So the other thing to do at Family Search is the research wiki. And there we would type in Virginia if it ever comes up. Come on, baby. Okay. Robin was saying she had challenges with full text search transcript edits. So Robin, one of the things that you can do, oh no, you're doing fine, but somebody else that they're having trouble with it. One of the things you can do is just copy the full text search and put it in your word processor and then edit it as you're going through. All right, here's the research wiki. You can, wow, this has changed. Gosh, I haven't even looked at the wiki for maybe a month because of my travels and such. So I'm just going to click here on the United States and say, oh, that's not an image map. It's not clickable. I will have to search for Virginia at the top. Well, we knew that they were working on, look at all these Virginia topics. Go to the main one, Virginia. And there we go. And we get a web page that has, that is our familiar web page, and here's all the record types that they have available. Let me zoom in a little so you can see them. Their clickable map is taking forever to come in. It's probably me. Anyway, so let me give you this link in the chat. So what's happening for Tammy, because apparently she's our researcher of the week, is we're giving her links that she can click on in the chat on YouTube. And I love it when people actually go and use one of these during the show and make a breakthrough. It's way cool. Okay, so here's usually there's a clickable map that would then, you'd go to that part of Virginia, but you can also find the counties listed here. Oh, it's because I've zoomed in too much. I'm sorry. No, doesn't get it there from here. Okay, so then you're dealing with these Fairfax County, King George, or maybe here. All right. And you'll find records that way. Also, the unique thing about this research wiki at Family Search is it's not just what's at Family Search. And Tammy's saying thank you. That's always nice when you hear a thank you or two. It's not just what is part of the Family Search collection. Remember, all of Family Search is free. It's what is necessary for you to know, like what's the state archive, what about the Virginia Historical Society, etc. We're getting some feedback from somebody. That could be me. I don't know. Jill says she loves the research wiki. It's all good. All right. All right. Let me see what are some of the other suggestions that people came up with. There we go. Okay. Use Perplexity Pro. That's amazing. It's pretty good. Yeah, the AI text, the full text search is not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Maria, the world's best neighbor in the world, although she and I both moved from the old neighborhood, she found it helpful to join similar Facebook groups and genealogy societies that are for the same areas where you're doing research. Yeah, let's see. Listen to Barbara Vines Little's talks at familytreewebinars.com. familytreewebinars.com. Randy, could you go look for her collection, Barbara Vines Little, over on Family Tree Webinars? Yeah. Bill Moore, who's an experienced researcher, says full text search is amazing. I found some great records using it. You know, they're digitizing faster than they can index using the old system. Okay, Cindy's list. All right, let's pull that up for brand recognition. And then we're going to talk about societies. Of course, it's at the top of my list there. As soon as it comes in, I'll share the link. Share the view of it. Oh gosh, look at all the people that are sponsoring on that search. Okay, let me pull it up. She does all these links by herself. Yeah, there's cindyslist.com. There you go. And we're taking off the Google something or other. There we go. The reason I like to share my screen, folks, is for newbies or people who are returning to research, people who may only have talked to their immediate family members and thought they couldn't bust through brick walls because their grandpa didn't tell them who his parents were. Yeah, I want brand recognition of that safe website to go to. All right. Got all kinds of comments. Oh, and here is the link. Barbara Vines Little's webinars. Thank you. And Family Tree Webinars is a good place to go. It's $49 a year, but sometimes you can, let's see, webinars.com. Okay. It's $49 a year. Best thing for genealogy education. We get the genealogy discussions, news and events, etc. Okay, let me share my screen for that brand recognition. And so here's quick links for topics, but you can also search for Barbara Vines Little, which is what Randy did. It starts already filling in. Let's get her whole speaker page. The ones at the top are the links to her most recent webinars. And yeah, so her examples are typically Virginia. And she is well known. Okay, and Jill's telling me to pull up Linkpendium. Yes, and then go to Virginia. And you may remember the old, where's Virginia? Here it is. 36,000, and they're sorted by independent cities. Let me quit sharing that comment, and then you can see the full page. Then you have individual counties. You can jump to a county or jump to a city. Now, this is run by Wolf and his wife. Remember Roots Web, the developer of Roots Web, the two of them continue to curate good genealogy links. Somebody's giving me some feedback. Do you want to mute? I think it's Andy. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm going to mute you, hon. It's okay, I muted you. Yeah. these suggestions we're giving Tammy, and what's going on with the need for the supported ancestry? What happened? I can't see what the challenge is. Who can I call at Ancestry to resolve a mix-up with DNA testing for your brother-in-law? Yeah. Okay. We've helped you enough. You got your $5,000 worth of advice. It's all good. Oh man, I love our panelists, and I love that we can interact with people. Okay, so now we're going to have our discussion about genealogy societies, which kind of was a follow-on to the comment that the world's best neighbor said. Join Facebook, join the local genealogy society, and the Virginia has a statewide and also some very specific to certain counties. And the Virginia Historical Society weighs very heavily in that regard. All right, let's start with Jill, and I'll pull up your Seattle Genealogical Society. Do they pay you $5,000 to say, you know?
No, that's either a lot of travel or a lot of requesting of death certificates. So I'm good. In fact, I didn't get an invitation, so I'm not in there. I'm not being invited to their club.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think, however, I would like to add one thing. I think there might be people who would find that appealing. And and I think it's important to kind of say that because though it may be a small group, they only need a small group. But it may be people who want to do their own research, not just hire somebody. And they want to do their own research, but they really don't know how. And they want to have this kind of intensive experience and ability to contact experts in their field, because certainly the family search has, and Ancestry has great experts. It would save them hiring pro-genealogists, perhaps, if they wanted to do their own. So I think there are people who would find this appealing. I'm not one of them, but I would. It would be interesting to know who does sign up for it, and if they found it worthwhile. And they might.
You're muted.
I was
Yes,
muted through
we're
all
glad
of that.
I muted. They're coming back this way. Apparently, they've gone all the way around the house, and I was starting point.
Life intervenes, Myrt. Life intervenes.
Yes, it does. It's all good. Hi, Diana. So good to see you. And Hillary just had a bingo breakthrough Civil War. What is GWGC?
It's Commonwealth War Graves Commission. So it's somebody that was a soldier that's buried somewhere. They are looking for blood relatives. They quite often do things to sort of identify something.
Mm-hmm.
But I know somebody who's actually closer to that person than I am, so I'm going to have to contact them because I know who this person is. I looked on my tree on Ancestry, and it came up that this person was on my tree. So I recognised the surname, and I just, well, what it was, I went to Family Search. I went to look under the Wikitree thing, the wiki for Family Search. Went on a link, and it took me to the Roots chat board where somebody put something up. So you never know. Somewhere that you don't go to very often, you suddenly come to find something.
Yeah, I love it. Totally love it. Let's go and see what's in the community. A couple other people are mentioning breakthroughs or places to have a breakthrough. Gwen says she likes the Ohio Genealogy Society and Southern California Gen Society. You get access to paid databases too with their membership. She was a research and mentoring chair with no request for a year. Okay, take advantage of that local genealogy society. They're the boots on the ground if you can't travel there,
Mhm.
which is what Jill's telling us. Yeah. Okay. Um, Randy, you also belong to a genealogy society. Let's talk about your take. What's unique about your genealogy society?
The American Ancestors Society, the New England Historic Genealogical Society, has a wealth of online databases only available to members. They have original probate records up until the late 1800s. Um, they have a number of professional periodicals, not just their own, but Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, uh, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and probably more that I've forgotten. Um, and those are invaluable because you see the peer-reviewed work that's been done over centuries now, 150 years, and it's tremendous. So that's 99 a year, and is well worth my money.
I
Okay.
belong also, Randy, but I belong because if you click on search, don't click on search, just cursor over the word search,
Yeah.
right? You should get a drop down. Maybe you have to click on it.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I go to the partner databases. No, partner databases, one up.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. Right. Now, this gives you a list of all the other databases that they subscribe to that they have access through this website.
Through the
So,
portal.
yes, through this portal. So you pay the membership to American Ancestors and you get all these, all access to all these different
I didn't
sites
know
that you might
about.
have to pay for independently. In
Yeah.
fact, David Wimet was teaching a French Canadian class, and he, of course, belongs to American Ancestors. He didn't realize that the one that he was also paying for was down at the bottom of this list, and he didn't even have to subscribe. And so he dropped his subscription, and he instead went to the French Canadian sites that are clear at the bottom, but nevertheless.
Oh my gosh. All right. I
So
gotta
it's all
re
over. The partner databases to me are worth it just because.
This is incredible. I did not know this.
Mhm.
I thought I was a know-it-all. All right, where's my sticky notes? I gotta re-up at American.
Yeah, just scroll to the bottom of this.
Okay, close your eyes, guys. I'm gonna scroll really fast.
Okay, now up a little bit more. And you can see there that you get both Parchman notarial databases and you get Genealogy Quebec. And both of those are a bit on the expensive side. And you just saved yourself all that money and you only paid 99.
You know, I want to mention that isn't the peculiar thing about wedding records, marriage records for a certain time period in Canada that they were by the notary that processed
Mm-hmm.
it, not by, yeah. So you kind of had to know. The fact that the database is searchable makes finding those kind of records much more readily possible. Wow.
So Genealogy Quebec has got a much better search engine than Ancestry does. So that's the first thing. And you find the date of the marriage there. Then you
Yeah.
go to the notarial database and you will get pages of information
Wow.
about the marriage because that's where they put the contracts for marriage. So the who's giving who what all shows up in the notarial database. Those dowers show up
Yes.
there. The relatives show up because it's a party when they go to the notary to record the marriage contract.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible. That's totally, totally incredible. Thank you. Wow, golly. So let me move this back. By the way, I do want to mention Bill Moore says he's vice president of the Rochester Genealogical Society. Their focus is education for their members. They're doing cross programming with regional historical and genealogical societies. It's also good when your regional societies work together so you're not all having I want Jill to be able to speak publicly wherever she can, but, let's be coordinated and be sure that everybody knows Jill is coming on a certain day to this society and cross post these educational opportunities. Yeah,
Sometimes the society doesn't allow you to. I
yeah.
try to post those that are free and are freely available by other societies, particularly when I speak. But sometimes they just say it's members only, and I go, "Well, that's it. Then I can't post."
Yeah. Well, the thought that in my contracts, of course, I don't do public speaking anymore. I'm just an opinionated moderator here. um, I always said to the program chair, if I tell people that this is a members only event, that you'll at least get one new member, it's only me. So, yeah, I really appreciate that you shared your information about the Genealogy Quebec and the notarial, I can't say that word very well, database, and how to use them interchangeably. Very, very good. Okay. So Melinda is saying So Melinda is helping Tammy with questions about Ireland ancestors. But Tammy, as we discussed at breakfast that day, you got to know the territory, the place in Ireland,
Yeah.
because that is true regardless of the ancestor's place of origin, because a country is a big place. So you can't just say they're from Germany in 1810. Wait, Germany in 1810 is not the Germany we know now. Which
Nope.
principality or whatever they called it? It was a lot of little principalities, as we would say. Is it Sachsen? Is it Württemberg? Is it whatever? What is it? Bayern? I don't know. And even if it's Bayern, Bayern's a big place. I drove all around it. It takes a long time, like hours. So, and I'm not talking Audubon. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Yeah, I did okay on the Audubon. I lived, and so did other people, to tell the tale. Okay. Ellen, what about you and genealogy societies? Do you belong to any?
Yeah, I belong to the Alberta Genealogical Society. We have different areas, so I belong to the Edmonton branch as well as the Lethbridge branch of that society. I run the DNA SIG, and we have meetings every 2 months or so. I also belong to the Ontario Genealogy Society. So, yeah.
All right, let me share my screen and I'll show the Alberta group. So that's interesting that the Alberta Genealogical has it's an umbrella for local
For all the different other, groups
in
across
Alberta. Okay, that's good. All
So
right.
in the center it says branches.
Okay. Interesting. All right, now we're back to Diana saying, of course, Iowa State Genealogical Society has lots of resources, special interest groups, online and in-person research, and so much more. Thank you, Jill, for volunteering. I love it when you make a post on Facebook and you say, okay, I'm at the desk at Seattle Genealogical, drop in. And one day I did. It's like 2.5 hours for me to get there. But I follow it and belong to it because I have ancestors, my dad and my grandparents on my dad's side, who were Seattleites.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Well,
have you put in a request to the KC3I for any records?
no, I have not put in a request because
You
I've
want to
been
do that.
doing due diligent work.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
because
that does raise just the generic issue is that your local genealogical society may have a research methodology for members to be able to ask for information that isn't online and that they will then supply it to you as members, usually for free, and different things. Our KC3I is the King County court cases that go from inception until 1981. And so with that, then you can search for, now you may say your folks aren't criminals. Well,
no, mine
that's
would
not
be.
that's not the only thing that's in court cases. We get name changes, probates are there, any sort of dispute over billing if your guy ran a business. So there's different things that can arise in a court, and this is a full person search over 100 years of King County records.
That's pretty amazing.
It's an amazing record set. I
Yeah,
use it all the time.
we have to actually look at it. I recently found among my dad's papers, and I thought I had gone through all his papers and digitized them, but I have not. There's a whole batch of them. The original site plan for his office up at 1623 Queen Anne Avenue North.
Mhm.
And Capazio's is there now. We have that whole block. Well, not the whole block, but a lot of it.
Mhm.
And what I remember of it were old ladies lived in houses to the north.
Mhm.
And because if I'd go in to help Dad at the office when I was a little kid and I was bored, the nurses would send me with a treat to take to the little old lady next door. And then gradually, yeah, so I have practical knowledge, but not documentary knowledge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Melinda says she has to give a shout out to the Texas State
Mhm.
Genealogical Society, and they do a really big conference annually that draws nationally and internationally ranked speakers, as does Ohio.
Mhm.
That's a real feather in your cap if you get to speak at Texas or at Ohio Genealogical or Virginia. Or yeah. Okay. This is the first year of my 36-year genealogy career that I'm not a volunteer. You know, I understand that, Valerie. We only have X amount of time. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking at the fact that I am this old. I'm in my mid 70s, younger side of mid 70s. And when I look at my potential lifespan with possible cognitive decline, it's necessary for me to spend my time getting the rest of this scanned because my kids do not want to inherit this. They wouldn't mind inheriting the digital stuff and a few choice heirlooms that are in my grandma's trunk. You are far younger than I am in spirit, Diane. It's all good. Um, you know, Randy, talk to me about this.
Well,
Yeah,
we've all been involved in our local societies and things like that. Almost all of us, I think. And so I've been a board member on Chula Vista since 2002. I run two monthly Zoom groups. I've spoken 20 or 30 times to the society, and I've been the editor of the newsletter for 16 years now. So I'm busier now than ever trying to document my own research. Okay, I've been working at it. I did 52 ancestors for 12 years now,
yeah.
and that's paid off. But now trying to figure out how to get it published or at least exposed so that my kids can use it or learn from it is the challenge.
It is. It is. Monta is saying she too is looking at her lifespan We're in the same age, and the time left is suddenly precious. Yeah. Frank, are genealogy societies a big deal over there in Germany?
Kinda. While we have some societies, they tend to be more local than yours. So having one for an entire state would be awesome, but at the same time, it's not that big of a deal, sadly.
So there are some cultures that revere the ancestors. I'm thinking of some Asian cultures. I have a friend that lives in Spain who says genealogy societies aren't a big thing there. It just depends on your time and space and the cultural influences, don't you think?
I think so.
But you are also known
Also,
for having a technology genealogy group that's very popular.
yeah,
Can't remember the name of it. And
one of
it's good.
one of the biggest societies would be Compgen, but I wouldn't call Compgen a society per se, but more a website and so on.
Well,
But
okay.
if you go to Compgen, be a member is totally free. Join the mailing list and ask your questions there if you have some for the German-speaking territories. They are so helpful there. It's simply amazing.
All right, I'm trying to find their link and I'm not finding it. Um, there are also societies for ethnic groups, like I'm thinking of JewishGen.org and the International Society of Jewish Genealogical Societies. I was once asked to come do some PR work and interview at their conference each of the SIG members. They are so organized as they're parts or regions of Eastern Europe, um, and the JewishGen.org website reflects that information. We're getting some comments here. Let's see. So here's something. Oh, you wanted to share Pixelbook. Talk to me about this, Randy. Are you actually going to use this service to take your blog and have it show up in a book format?
I posted that for Randy, that I have taken a portion of my blog and made it into a book. And this is the company that used to be Blog to Print. And so I have a friend of mine who did it annually. She would print her blog annually and have a book on the shelf. So this was an option for her. I found it not as flexible as I wanted it to be. And so I ended up doing most of my self-publishing over on lulu.com, where I have more flexibility. But Blog to Print was a good answer for a portion of my blog that I did on the 150th anniversary of a particular Civil War guy who had a diary.
Okay, cool. All right, I put the lulu.com link and this pixbook.com. I haven't seen Pixbook, but I agree with you about lulu.com because you can have, if it's just black and white and only soft-sided, 8.5 by 11, 200 or 300 pages, it's like $12. Something ridiculous like that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
And you can add hardcover and you can add color photos, and of course it's more money. So
yeah, right. But Blog to Print was pretty easy if you just want to get a picture of your blog at a point in time.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's see if there's any more comments about societies. Oh, Tony, our guy over there in Ireland, I have friends. Oh dear. Yes, you do have friends. I have friends who cannot understand the interest in genealogy. If it's been and gone, then why bother? Oh, I get that. Yeah, why talk about? We don't talk about Hugo. Remember that movie? That Disney movie? As well as being rather disrespectful, but he feels it ignores the search for real truths. And that does bring us to the subject of ethics. DNA research findings that might be a little surprising, the things that we uncover, we find out about a marriage prior to our great grandparents' marriage. And, there are surprises along the way. And I joke about criminals. I'm going to mute again somebody that works. Just how I want to ask the panelists and those of you on the YouTube side, what do you think the stance should be in the quest for truth when you run across some very uncomfortable information? It could be criminal activity, it could be misattributed parentage, etc. How do you handle that? This is a good reason to have your own database on your own computer. Okay, Frank, go for it.
I would still note it as it is written, but I also would know and take a notice to keep the circumstances of his life or her life in context, and also the time frame.
You're right. We need to be open-minded, non-prejudicial, and that also helps us be better researchers, doesn't it? I'm not going to look in the criminal court records. No way, Jose. It couldn't be my people. But that could be the weak link information that, takes care of a brick wall problem you've got.
Yeah.
Hillary, let me ask you, what do you do with information? I'm going to give you this. It could be something that happened to your great-great-grandparents or something that happened to your auntie. Tell me how you would handle that uncomfortable information with those two groups, those two ancestors.
If it's somebody that's close to somebody that's already alive and still alive, then I probably would be very careful and tactful, and possibly just make a note in my own database and not necessarily tell somebody if I thought it could be an uncomfortable thing for them to know. But if it's something that's further back, then it's going to be of interest to even more people, and you still got to, however you mention something, you've just got to be careful how you mention it, so that if somebody came across it, they wouldn't be upset by how you say it. Sometimes people can be too blunt, even if it's going back a few generations.
Yeah, I get that. Ellen, what are you thinking about this?
I have situations in my family where there is a DNA secret, and it's not my story to tell. So I mean, I know it, but I don't talk about it. But for somebody more distant, like I think it was my 3 times great grandfather, he committed suicide. But I mean, that's part of the record. That's part of the truth, and so that's in my genealogy, and I've blogged about it.
Yeah. So if it's farther back up
Yeah.
the family tree, and maybe the children of that person who died by suicide, I don't think it's a criminal offense. I try not to say committed suicide. I think I don't know. Anyway, if their children are still alive,
No, I mean, it wouldn't be.
yeah.
It's so far back, yeah.
But yeah. But you're right, there's a way to word things, and we have the capability. We're wordsmithers of sorts, aren't we?
Yeah.
and we know how to broach a subject. What about the use of slang terms that are derogatory? Like, let's say you're transcribing a document, and instead of saying African American or black person or person of color, it uses the N word. What would you do there? That's another ethics question. Anybody want to jump in with that?
I will.
Okay, thank you,
If you're
Jill.
looking at a document and you're transcribing it, you transcribe it because that is the term that was used at that moment in time. So it's not your word, it's their word. I struggled with this as I was doing the presentation on my ancestor that spent his entire adult life in an insane asylum. Well, what do I call it? Well, I decided to use the term they used, which is insane asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And so it morphed over time, but that morphs it out of residential care, mental illness, or I mean, that just morphs it to something that it wasn't. And so I stuck with the word, and I explain that in my presentations. I am using the words of the time to just make sure that people understand that this isn't necessarily the words I would use today if I was talking to someone who is challenged in some way. So I'm pretty careful about that. The other thing I do is in my Roots Magic database, I have a fact called miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is anything that I think somebody else might not be so wild about reading about. And so I don't print that fact ever.
Mm-hmm.
That fact is always deleted. But anecdotes I'll print. And sometimes things move from being in the miscellaneous fact base into an anecdote, depending on how it morphs over time. So it's just a way I have of protecting the data from getting out there inadvertently. If I'm just printing a record and all of a sudden it shows up on the internet,
You never know.
I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. I like the idea of prefacing a blog post that says, trigger warning.
Yeah, right.
This post contains words, a word or words that were peculiar to a certain time period in history. It's a literal transcription, and it's not the language that I consider using these days.
Today, right.
Yeah, somebody said, Diana said she was editing a document and someone had changed the word slave to involuntary servant. No. And even though,
No.
sheesh.
No.
And even slave now, we're saying an enslaved person. But that's what we're using to
Right.
speak to it. But when you're doing the document, it's the word they used. Diana said also she has private facts, so she doesn't print them, and she knows Roots Magic. She and another gal host a Wednesday meeting once a month at the crack of dawn for Old Myrt, so I don't always get there. And it's strictly a Roots Magic users group. It's an online genealogy society. Yes. This is the Genealogy Society, where we get to talk about stuff as opposed to just being lectured at, although sometimes I do drone on a bit, Tammy, so watch out. Tony says, I feel a responsibility to uncover the truth, including removal of children for his mother, affairs, murders on his wife's side. Many issues that would have been sensitive at the time are commonplace now. Yes. And then Diana said she would put the term as it was found and then put the square brackets, SIC.
Sick means that it's misspelled.
Yeah.
And that you know it. So I'm not sure that sick is the right word there.
Okay. I hear you. Yeah. So Randy, back to our previous topic and changing it to a lighter subject. Randy was saying he did not get his invitation to the 1890 concierge service. And Lynn says the invitation to it came via messages on Ancestry. That's intriguing. Yeah.
It's not that.
I miss you too, Diana.
Yeah.
Randy, did you want to say anything about how you deal with uncomfortable words or uncomfortable circumstances in your research?
Not really. You've all said pretty much what I think is probably right.
Okay.
Haven't faced that situation, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, good. Well, good. I think we covered the topic, and I really appreciate the participation of members of the audience, those of you who are attending, and we've got the 7-minute warning. So Valerie wants to be the timer person here. Okay, now I want to talk to you about something different, and I promised my Genia bloggers that I would start talking about this particular topic. Let me share the screen, and okay, we've got to actually share the screen. So over on Substack, I made a post on the Genia bloggers. Let me share the link. I think it's in the on our docket, so Randy can share it. There's this concept of photoreminiscence therapy, PRT, where it's easy for us. Genia bloggers are already preserving memories. We know it's important to talk to the older members of our family, and in some cases, like in my case, I am in the older generation, and I'm going to get my word in before my brother does about things. So you may have heard of VivPix. This is a very complicated blog post, so it's gonna take me a minute. VividPix has a system where they use an overhead scanner to help you scan your photos. Their software scans it and corrects it and updates it, and then gives you the opportunity to record an interview with an ancestor if they're part of that scanning moment. Or in my case, it would be me scanning and then recording my recollections of the event or the person in the photo that I just scanned. And there is a new partnership with VividPix and the National Institute for Dementia Education and Pocket RN, which is a software program so that the caregiver and the nurse can communicate if the patient is at a long-term care facility. But when we talk about this, I want to scroll down and talk about this in regards to something that happened at NGS. And let me pull it up. I hope it's on. There we are. At NGS, which is the National Genealogical Society here in the United States, they had a symposium, and it had 3 main panelist discussions. And I don't know why it looks fuzzy on my screen, but Kurt Witcher, Krista Cowan, David Rencher, people that we know in the world of genealogy, plus some other people like Dr. Yin, who works with, I believe, AARP now that she's retired. Oh, there's Dr. Shelley also, with African American. They had a symposium because they want to address this topic of aging and memory loss. Okay, I'm already losing my mind as it is. Let's go forward with this. And so there's this consortium among the companies that or libraries that have already purchased this from VividPix, and then Family Search and NGS, and now they want to extend it to the whole genealogy community, the genealogy community as a whole. And thank you, Valerie. Absolutely. You can watch all those symposium videos. I have the link to it in that blog post. And Randy, I'm sure, is sharing that link with you. So we have an opportunity as genealogists who do podcasts, vlogging like I do here, bloggers, to get the word out about the importance of using photos to keep our memories alive. Now, when you have people that are progressing through dementia, and I'm probably on this side of it where I sometimes can't remember things, but it's still normal because they tested my brain and blood and I don't have Alzheimer's yet. We don't have a history of it. I don't know if it's inherited. But anyway, then there are other people that are farther along that scale to where what they can remember can be, I mean, what do you talk about? When somebody, like my dad had senility, but my stepmother had Lewy body dementia where she could only concentrate on certain things for a very short period of time. But if I had a picture and asked her about that picture, it was a picture of her and her mother, she could go on, even though she couldn't lift her head up anymore. It awakened neurons in her brain and she could tell stories. And NGS nurses recognize that if they can communicate with a patient and teach a caregiver how to communicate with a patient like that, I mean, hospice helped me a lot figure out how to communicate with Blanche with her advanced dementia as her primary caregiver. I had a lot of help from the family, though. But NGS is saying, let's get ahead of the curve and get these memories preserved and these photos preserved. So what they want to do as the symposium participants is give us about every week something new on that topic. And for instance, the one that's going to be released this week is a short clip from a local ABC affiliate somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States, where they talked about this very topic. And what'll happen, because we have a lot of genealogy bloggers, this is something new for Randy to start doing, is we have a way to, if we receive that information, we'll share it over on Substack. That's our main way, and our mail list to get things out on a weekly basis, to give you something to blog about, one less thing to worry about blogging about. Not that Randy needs any help in that regard. Yes, pictures are wonderful for memory loss patients, not always successful, so don't push, but sometimes great. So let's back up a little bit from that point of dementia to where all of us are. We're still actively doing research and exploring AI and blogging about it. Let's see. Hillary, the last time, Hillary, tell me about this.
Well, my mum had a condition which meant she lost her ability to speak to you, so she couldn't tell me things. But I'd been to see one of my uncles and picked up some photographs from them when I went, and I took them with me when I went to see my mum, and she could obviously tell. There were obviously people there that she recognised and things, and she obviously really enjoyed sort of sharing the photographs with her, because you could tell from her face and what she was doing that she enjoyed it. So you don't necessarily need to be able to speak about it. People do recognise them, whatever.
To have to have smiles between you and to have her be excited and happy. And I feel better myself in my little world here, known as my office, when I get a few more things scanned and attached to that person in my genealogy program, and I'll make there's a notes option for that image, and I'll tell the story of it, like when Dad went deep sea fishing off of Waikiki Beach, and he came back, he caught a marlin. And it just happened that Blanche and Dad's sister, who lived there, Aunt Beverly, they were walking by and happened to catch the picture, snap a picture, and that's the one that he would just love to see that picture again if he were still alive. Those photos, any kind of, we lost Hillary. She went away. Oh, probably somebody came in the room. She has absolute power. It's all good. Valerie says she spent hours and hours with her father-in-law who had dementia, talking about tons of things through photos that I would take to show him each visit. He identified 3 photos that where she didn't know anything about them. Of course, then there's me. I sent some photos to my mother when she was still alive that were from her mother's photo album that for some reason I ended up with it. My mother took one look at those pictures and said, these photos are too ugly. It's not anybody in our family. I think they were the carte de visites where you used to go and share a photo like we did in high school, our little photos, it's whatever. Diana says, yes, seeing their eyes light up with recognition is great, even if they can't tell you anything about it, like in Hillary's case. At least they know, at least you know they enjoyed it. And Hillary, what an impact you made on your mother by sharing that. I mean, seriously, you guys get me crying every week. Tammy, I tend to cry and get emotional about tender things like that. Frank, talk to me about your cousin. You're muted, I think. No, you're not.
My cousin died a couple of months ago, and the last time I talked to him, I actually answered a genealogy question that he had for me. I talked to him that I started researching our maternal side of the family again, so his side as well. And he asked me, can you find out more about the twin brother of our grandmother?
Oh.
We knew that he died in World War II, close to somewhere in Russia, and I found him. I found where he fought. I found where he died, and I found where he is resting to this day.
These opportunities to share is our joy. And I have to tell the genealogers out there, there's more to the story. I'm going to come up with, the group is going, the consortium of people is going to send me on about a weekly basis something new on this topic of photo recognition therapy or, a scanning tip. And it's not going to be specific to Vivid Pics. It might occasionally, but why not some of the other software programs? I said to the Vivid Pics guy, it has to be open to any of the products out there. It might be that you use a different scanning software that you really like. You might like to do the thing at MyHeritage, and that all needs to be accepted and part of the plan, part of the option. And your followers follow you because your brain and theirs click.
Yep.
And so please, and so it's a non-issue. It's not, even though this consortium was organized by NGS, Family Search, and Vivid Pics, it doesn't mean that we're only talking Vivid Pics. Okay, guys? And there's more to the story. There's going to be a big perk that is in the work for those. I'm looking for about 50 very dedicated genealogy bloggers to participate in this, but all genealogy bloggers can do this. I just can't discuss the perk yet, and I'm sitting on it, and I'm so excited. Trust me, it's going to be good. Oh, I have to share this. Diana says she showed her grandmother a photo of a teen girl, and she just said, "Oh, what a pretty girl." And then Diana asked her, is that you, Grandma? And the answer was yes. I love it. And I agree with Jill. It's a gift when we can share breakthrough technology. Our ancestry is shared by all the descendants. Even though Frank made that breakthrough, we're sharing. It's all fantastic. Okay, one more thing, okay? One more, and then we'll go. There's a new thing on the block. I hope you've ordered it. Let me share my screen. It's bigger than a quick sheet, but smaller than Evidence Explained. It's the Strip Bare Guide to Citing Uses and Family History Sources, the book, not the quick sheet. There's a laminated quick sheet. This is a 142-page book that's supposed to be a distillation of the big Evidence Explained, Citing History Sources and Artifacts, to 4th edition. I got to tell you, if you took a beginner and I always like to say it, you cannot drop this book. This heavy book. I mean, I just about wrenched my my wrist lifting this book up. Yeah. So that particular book, let me give you the link to this blog post, is what I am, as soon as I get it in my hot little hands, I'm going to review it to see if, I love those bare toes. Yeah. I'm considering it for a book club, but I'm not sure till I see it, and how I can work it so that we're observing copyright, because the goal is to have people buy that book. It's not very expensive, but this one, which I have a lot of little stickies because I've been working on things lately, would just about knock over a newbie before they begin their research. So, Tammy, it used to be called preponderance of evidence, which is a legal term. But when we're now dealing with evidence explained and the higher concept of proof statements, proof summaries, and proof arguments, we've set that aside. There's a whole thing called genealogical proof standard. And from talking with you, Tammy, I already know you are a good researcher. You know to go to original records, and yeah, indexes are good, but let's look at original documents. Janine said she'd like to be in the book club gathering about it. Yeah. Okay, Randy. I thought about that with the title of my blog post. I'm not even going there. This is not late night television. I hear you. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for the feedback from the community, helping me with my orienting my friend, my new friend in genealogy. Thanks to everyone for your participation. Thanks especially. I noticed the YouTube group did pretty well. Everybody stayed in line. Thanks to Sherry and Melinda. It's all good. Nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.